on AFR Talk.
The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields.
Here's the deal. Cell phones, not for me. You look at these kids today, I'm not the cell phone type. Cell phones. Nope. Internet. Nope. Nintendo. No. Move on, nerds. No. Cell phones. Nope. Internet. Nope. Nintendo. No. Nope. No. That high-tech stuff will just get you so far. Emailing, that was dreamed up in a bar. Texting, I'm like, no. Shut it down, turn it off. There you go. That high-tech stuff will just get you so far. Emailing, that was dreamed up in a bar. Texting, I'm like, no. Shut it down, turn it off. There you go. Kids in America today are fat.
All right, some of Phil Robertson's best lines, and from the little video called "Nope," we found that online. But that's kind of his style. I'm not gonna, and I'm not saying that I agree with him on everything. I'm not saying that I use my cell phone. I've got it with me all the time. But I do think that this is a guy that the network fully knew who he was. They weren't confused by this. And the network itself knew about the interview, had seen the interview, and had chosen not to do anything about the interview long before long before it even hit Drudge. So here's the thing: it was only as the activists, which is a very small group of people wanting to tear down the free speech rights of other people, got involved. It was only when they got involved that this thing went sideways, and the network last night, caving to that pressure, said they are going to, in fact, suspend Phil from the show. Well, there's more than just them that can speak out, friends. And so here's what I'm going to ask you to do, and I'm going to ask you to do it very kindly, as always, when we do these things. But I want you to, with all the kindness that you can, place a couple of phone calls today. The CEO telephone line for A&E Networks out of New York City here is 212-210-9007. 212-210-9007. 212-210-9007. There's also a general phone line that you can call. They're not going to, you can probably leave your comments with them, but it would be better if you could get someone in the programming office. Colleen Conway would be a good person to talk to. Abby Raven, who's the CEO of the network. Either one of those would be excellent to discuss this with. But this phone number is 212-210-1400. 212-210-1400. I also want to take your calls after you make those calls and hear what they are saying to you. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to say to them, look, there's many things on your network we don't agree with. We may not agree with that show, Rodeo Girls. I mean, it's a disgusting display and objectifying women in a horrible way. They have girls doing rodeo in bikinis and stuff. It's just not something that's going to be on in my house. Did we try to shut their network down or get those girls kicked off the air because we disagreed with it? No, we just said we're not going to watch it. We're just going to choose not to watch it. That wasn't the plan of action for the activists that are opposing Duck Dynasty now. These activists said, not only are we not going to watch it, we don't want anyone else to be allowed to watch it with Phil Robertson in it. And so what they have said is we are going to, we're just going to pressure you until you get rid of him. And that's what they did. Friends, they caved. There was some backdoor meeting yesterday that took place, and Robertson was out of a job by the end of the business cycle. after one day of some of the content of his interview. And let me make something clear here. It wasn't like Phil Robertson was walking down the street spewing this stuff going, hey, I got something to say about gay people. That's not how it happened. The GQ writer asked him his opinion about something. So on Twitter last night, I'm seeing some of the responses come back and forth. I see some of the discussions being had. And this one very angry, most likely young man who engages in homosexual stuff, probably from California, had this quasi-obscene post on Twitter, and he said, I can't believe this. This guy should be put out of his blanking mind, and he should be told to blink and be quiet, and et cetera, et cetera. So and those are the ones I like to talk back to. So I wrote back to him and I said, so he's not allowed to give an honest answer to an honest question. And the answer that came back from the young man was no. If what he has to say is harmful, then he should not be allowed to say it. Friends, do you understand the crazy, insane precedent that if our judges, if our society begins to interpret law that way, that hate speech becomes anything that some other person just disagrees with or that person deems hurtful? This is why I wasn't for hate speech and hate crime laws when they came about. I don't think they have anything but nefarious purposes in mind. Laws that are broken are already broken. Enforce the laws that are there. You don't need laws to try to determine and decipher what the hidden view of the person's heart is. Unless, by the way, you're going to start punishing speech, and then you can attach all kinds of penalties to speech that you don't like, and you can call it hate. 888-589-8840. So as you're calling the A&E phone numbers, 212-210-9007, and letting them know what you think about pulling Phil Robertson off of primetime television, 212-210-1400, 212-210-1400, or 212-210-9007. You can call either of those and ask to be connected to the programming department, and then explain to them, look, I have the ability to watch your show on a weekly basis, but because you're choosing to punish a man for simply his freedom of speech, it doesn't matter what you believe about his speech. The fact that you're punishing him for that, and you're saying you're taking him off, we're not gonna watch you anymore, and we're gonna tell every friend we know not to watch you. And we're going to hope and pray that Duck Dynasty takes its show and goes somewhere else with it. Because friends, and I urged this on Facebook last night, and I sent it to the sons of the family. But I think that the family in the next 24 hours needs to come out and verbally affirm their father publicly. I think Willie and Jace and Jep in particular, as the men of the family, there's the other son, Alan, I think is his name, that doesn't work in the duck call business. But these guys need to come out and they need to publicly affirm their dad, and they need to say, my father has the right to speak, and if you're going to try to rob him of his First Amendment rights in this manner, we will also choose to exit this scenario. Because, friends, they will not have a show if they don't have the family. They will not have a show if they do not have the family. The thing about Duck Dynasty, it's a show about this family, and Phil Robertson is the John Wayne of the family. He's the patriarch. He's the guy that sets the rules. And the other sons can or cannot follow them and abide by them, but usually when they don't, they end up in misery, and when they do, everything ends well. That's the bottom line here. We're talking about a family component, and this activist group wants to take this family and burn them down. They just want to destroy them. 888-589-8840 is my number here. 888-589-8840. If you've called the New York offices for A&E, the number is 212-210-9007, 212-210-1400, 212-210-1400, or 212-210-9007. There's also a general email that we can give you. It is AE dot, this is all one word, viewer relations ae.viewerrelations@aetv.com. Let me give you that one more time. ae.viewerrelations@aetv.com. That's all one word, but that's the email address. All right, let's go to the phones because there's a bunch of you that want to weigh in on this. And Michelle in Texas, we're going to let you start it. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hello, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
My statement is, I'm so upset about this. God bless you, Phil, if you're hearing. Watch you when I could, well, before our TV went off. Anyways, isn't there a gay channel that's called Logo or something like that?
There are a couple of channels that have a large amount of homosexually oriented content on it, yes.
Well, as a Christian, I just choose you go right on paste it. You don't have to watch it. And I see a bunch of Christians when that channel came out roaring out in the streets and in the public about this. You know, they have their rights. They have their stuff. Leave us alone and quit bullying us, you know?
And that's what this is. That's what this is, Michelle. This is abject. This is just abject bullying. He was asked his opinion. The writer sat down and said, Phil Robertson, we would like to do this opinion. And by the way, if you read the rest of the article, and when the article comes out, I think there's going to be some people that look pretty foolish here because the writer of the article was quite taken with Phil Robertson. He said he was a delightful person to interact with, that he was quirky and funny and very, very warm. He didn't sense an ounce of hate in anything about him. That's what the writer of the article said. 888-589-8840. I really want to hear from you, especially if you've called the New York offices of A&E and tell me what they're saying. 212-210-9007, 212-210-1400. Let's go back to your calls and say hey to Michael in Georgia. Michael, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Hi.
Hey, Kevin, I appreciate you really having this show today. And God bless you and Merry Christmas. And I called both offices, both numbers that you gave, and got voicemails. Went straight to the voicemail, but I did leave them a real Christian, polite message and just told them if they either need to bring him back or either the whole family needs to leave and go to another network. And the last thing I told them was God bless them.
Well, good for you, Michael. And yeah, I was a little shocked because when you said that you're glad I'm talking about this today, there were people on all kinds of networks across the country that weren't discussing this. And the reason that I feel it's so important is because this is the clearest violation of a person's personal right to religious expression and belief that I've ever seen. The mafia that is trying, the thuggish thugs and the mafia that are trying to explicate all things that they disagree with from the public airwaves, that's not American. It's not fair, and it's not right. And it's not going to be changed if we sit back and go, well, we're going to pray for them, and we'll hope that they'll get it together someday. And we're just going to be over in our little Christian circles just huddling in prayer. It's not going to work. We have to let them know that there are people that not only believe the same things that Phil does, but believe that he has the right. And one of the things I was rather impressed with on Twitter and Facebook last night, and there were hundreds of thousands. Oh, I started to tell you, there were 4 or 5 I Support Phil pages that got started on Facebook. Within 3 hours, those 4 pages had nearly 500,000 people that had signed up on the pages already. It exploded. This went viral like I've seen very few things ever go viral. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's talk to Eddie in Texas. Hi, Eddie. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, sir. I, of course, got the same response from the previous caller regarding a message that was playing, and, of course, expressed my concern and distaste for what they had done as far as acquiescing to that group. And, of course, in the same fashion as the previous caller, just stated that my family would not actually be watching that show any longer, nor anything else on A&E, and to have a Merry Christmas.
Good. That's exactly the kind of messages that they need to get in the thousands today, friends, the tens of thousands, maybe the hundreds of thousands. So if you take down this phone number, pass it on to someone today because We need to get tens and tens of thousands involved. Here's the two numbers again. The main line to A&E in New York City is 212-210-1400, 212-210-1400. And the what they call the CEO line is 212-210-9007. That's 212-210-9007. Or the general phone line, 212-210-1400. My guess is that the reason that you're getting voicemail is maybe one of two things. Maybe they are so overwhelmed with folks calling today that they simply just cannot field all the calls, or maybe they shut down for the day and said, we're going to weather this storm. In either case, friends, we need to completely incinerate their phone lines. I mean, we need to melt them off the wall. The plastic phones need to turn into a puddle of goo. That's how much activity we have. Because, again, we're talking about potentially 9 million or so citizens in one camp versus just 11 million viewers of one episode, and it's the most watched show in cable television history. This is stunning, and it would be one thing if he had shown a lack of decorum, if he had been, in the middle of, I don't know, pick a gay-friendly area of San Francisco, and let's say Phil Robertson's walking up and down there, and he's reading from the New Testament and preaching out loud and saying, you're all condemned and you're going to go to hell and all the rest of it. There would be some lack of wisdom in what he was doing there. I still don't think it would be qualifications for firing him, but that's not what he was doing in this situation. This was something where someone asked him to answer. And so is now the expected response when someone asks you your honest opinion to lie in order to satisfy public opinion? Is that what they really want us to do? Welcome to the new America, friends. 888-589-8840 if you want to talk with me. More when we continue here on AFA Today on AFR Talk. I'm Calvin McCullough. So glad you're with us.